Okay, welcome to this mini-series on the new Rainbow Nahida deck, which has been performing excellently so far for me in 3.7. I haven't lost a single game with it yet, at least, over the course of about 15 PvP games. And I made a few tweaks to the deck as we go, but here's the basic version I started with. I ended up with 5-0 on the first time, and I'm going to try to repeat that performance with a slightly modified version here. So the basics of this deck: Raiden, Zhangling, Nahida. Raiden and Zhangling create summons who apply a lot of two elements, Electro and Pyro. Nahida does a lot of damage if you can keep triggering reactions, specifically with the build around of a talent card. The talent card is really using to go Pyro and Electro because these two effects are extremely strong, and you'll see exactly how much damage they can put out. So the basis of the deck is to ramp towards using your Nahida with your Raiden and Zhangling summons out to deal an awful lot of damage. So, up against some sort of melt team, I suppose. You've got these pretty strong, Sucrose can be pretty strong. Oila, I haven't faced that much, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Going first, okay. So the critical cards you're looking for in your open hand is either Paimon or Lieben. If you have both, it's usually worth keeping both, so you have the option. And you want usually some sort of fixing. And then the other really important card is Liusu, who transfers energy to Zhangling and Nahida when you transfer to them. So I wouldn't mind using the Lion instead of the Paimon here, ideally, to increase my chance of drawing towards that, since I'm also missing the, there we go, as I was about to say, the last really important card to find in your hand is the talent card for Nahida, since I said how important this was in dealing an awful lot of damage. Specifically, the Pyro effect, since we have Zhangling on our team, enables our Seed of Skander from Nahida's ability to deal Dendro damage as well, which obviously allows you to make a lot more reactions. And then the effect from having an electric character in your team is simply going to enable you to gain more uses of this Seed of Skander damage. And it adds up quite quickly. Okay, so my plan for this turn is going to be to develop my Sealy first, so I've got the card draw going, and then use my Raiden skill and make sure that I can develop Liben at the end with efficient use of dice, so next turn I can draw a couple more cards and have the dice available to use Zhangling and Nahida's abilities. Their opponent using a bit of elemental tuning, using a bit of attacking, but nothing too scary going on just yet. Now remember, when you're using Liben, to make sure that you are leaving the right versions of dice available. So I'm making sure I've got one of each type so I can get my Liben activating immediately, which is usually what you want to do, in my experience with this deck. Play Liben and immediately your next turn have it go off. Okay, and I even get to start first next time. Opponents building up, I see. Their deck is to be based around getting this Oiler burst out as soon as possible, which is going to ramp up and deal a big chunk of damage eventually. Haven't faced this specifically yet, but I'm not too scared. If I was to roll here, we really just want Pyro and Dendro dice. Okay, we didn't get any Pyro dice. This is where Lieben comes in handy, smooth things over a bit, and of course the deck plays an awful lot of fixing to get the mana, get the dice flowing. So, ideally this turn I'd be using Zhangling's skill and Nahida Holdy skill, but to do that I'm currently missing 3 dice of the right colours. So I'd be using this and tuning one other thing. And that's fine. If you need to throw a card away to enable your game plan, it's something you should be willing to do. This deck. Now, just to think, if I do that, I'm going to end up with 2 dice left over at the end, which could be a great chance. Looking at how my team's looking to develop the Sanguinarious Shrine. Although again, the dice don't work out perfectly here. I might just end up using a pizza instead. Either way, there's no reason looking at the dice not just to use the skill here and think about it later. Sometimes you do need to plan a bit ahead and think about, okay, I need to make sure I've got 2 of the same dice for this shrine here, but unfortunately with how my mana's right out, actually I've got the 2 electro, so if I keep those 2 electro, then they will work to do what I was planning. I need to refamiliarize myself with what Euler's burst does here in a moment, but just to remind myself of the plan, yeah, I will need to use this to get the 1 mana, the 1 die discount if I'm planning to use the 5 skill with Nahida and still have the 2 to develop the Sanguinarious Shrine. So let's see, at the end of his turn, he'll discard this, and Euler uses a normal attack or skill, get 2 0 stacks, okay, it's 2, doing 2 plus. Going to be doing 4 damage, is my understanding right now. Okay, so I just need to make sure I'm not using the electro dice here. And I will need to perform a little bit of elemental tuning. In fact, my calculations were off before. I have to tune 2 cards. Fireman's very good on turn 1, but perfectly fine to tune later. Leave it to me as a one-of in the deck. You don't usually need the quick swaps. They can be very useful sometimes. Specifically against freeze teams, so that's why it's a one-off. But don't worry about using it for tuning if that's valuable in the end. Now this will trigger my Sealy, so I'll get to draw some more cards. So I get another Paimon if I do need it, but I don't expect myself to be using it. Alright. So I didn't comment on the fact that my Raiden thing got sent off on the very first turn. My Raiden summoned. It's not ideal, but honestly, it's fine. Right. So it's a little dicey in 1 or 2 ways. Alright. That's good. Now I really want to this turn just use normal and then burst on Nahida. And to do that I need to make sure that he's a die here. There's no element on Nahida. He can't trigger a reaction with Pyro. He can't use his Pyro talent card. He can't burst on Sklee. I don't think there's any risk of my Nahida dying here, which is just as well. So my turn is going to be 3 plus 3, and then I guess I can have 2 left over. I can just develop another shrine. The shrine's looking really good in this match, with how spread out the damage has been on my characters. That might not be the play I end up going for though, and I'll explain just quickly after taking the obvious move here. It's going to add 1 seed of Scandal to all the opponents, and then I do that skill there. So I really want to make sure I cast this, that's absolutely obligatory. And then I really want to get the Raiden Shogun going straight afterwards. Now, this was likely to involve Nahida dying, and that is perfectly fine, because I will already have done the important thing with Nahida. It will also involve, slightly more scarily, having to trash a card or two from my hand. But that's a problem for future me. Again, it's totally fine to use these cards for tuning if that's going to allow you to get a bit more damage in. Alright. Is this actually even worth doing? Yes. In general, like, it's a bit awkward with the energy, it's a bit awkward with other things, but in general, if you're unsure if it's worth using a skill, then the answer is probably it's worth using the skill. Because, especially when you've got all these buffs for your reactions, you get an awful lot of damage from these skills. In fact, opponent's field is quite close to just being dead on my next opener. So we'll see exactly how this is going to be. I deal Pyro, I cause a reaction to happen. It deals extra damage because of the buff. It deals damage to all the opponent's enemies due to the Seed of Skandha. And the Seed deals maybe it don't do damage there, perhaps I missed it. Okay, and then this is where you want to be towards the end. Your development back onto your Raiden at the end, and your Raiden's got a charged up burst. Gosh, my Darth RNG has been awful this game. Which can take out probably your opponent's last key character. Wow, my Darth RNG has not been favouring me. It's okay. At this stage, it's just about going for the win. Alright. That's round 1.